Hello and welcome back to Katrina's Creations. This is episode 111. If you are a subscriber already, thank you so much for coming back each week. If you're a new viewer, thank you for stopping by and checking out this channel. If you haven't, please click the subscribe button down below. And if you click the little bell icon next to it, you will get notifications anytime I post a video, which is normally on Saturdays, but occasionally actually lately a lot, it's been on Wednesdays too. And this week we are going to have not just the Saturday video, but we are going to have a Monday and a Wednesday video because Knit Crate is coming in. So stay tuned on Monday for the Knit Crate video and on Wednesday for a tutorial on the magic loop method. So let's get started. I've got two finished objects, but before I show those to you, I want to show you an update on my poncho. So let me explain what happened first. I am wearing it. Last week I showed it to you and it was still wet and blocking. I took it downstairs because I thought maybe up here in the my little craft cave, it was just a little too cold and it wasn't drying well. So I took it downstairs, had it hanging in my laundry room, and my husband kept going, "Something in there really stinks." And I said, "Oh, it's just wet wool. It's, it just smells like wet wool." He was like, "It smells like there's something more than wet wool." And then I thought about it a little bit more. And if you remember when I knitted this or crocheted this, I used this same yarn when I made my Barton cardigan, which was the sweater that is cabled all the way around. If you haven't seen that video, I will put a link to it right up here. You click the little I, it will take you to that video. The wool was very, very dirty, and I washed it in that video, and you could see it look like mud ran out. So I think there was a little more than lanolin in the wool, and I thought I had gotten it all cleaned out, but based on maybe the smell, maybe I didn't. So to play it safe, because I really didn't want to wear something that stunk, I don't want that type of perfume. So I put it through my washer, and then I actually dried it on a light, low heat, because I was just afraid, as heavy as this is, that it would not dry all the way. It made it much, much softer. It did shrink a tiny bit, not a whole lot, but it did shrink a little bit with the putting it through the dryer. So I didn't need to do that, but I knew that this was big enough I could get away with it. So I'm going to show it to you now that it is finished and I'm actually wearing it, because last week it was too wet and I couldn't put it on. So I will show that to you now. Okay, here it is, and you can see it with my arms. It comes down, the points are right about to here. So it's just about the right size. I mean, it could have been a little longer, but the point is, it's down a good ways for me. So I think it's perfectly fine. I didn't want it like hanging to my knees. And before it was much longer this direction. So I think it would have been almost maybe 6 inches longer. So I'm happy with how it turned out, and it is nice and warm and snuggly, especially right now because my little craft cave is very chilly. So let me show you my finished objects for this week. And like I said, I have two. Last week I showed you I had my finished mitts for my granddaughter. I made her some fingerless mitts. They did have thumbs in them. Some fingerless mitts don't, but these did. They had thumbs. So I had two of those made. And then I had enough yarn left over to hold the yarn double, so it made a thicker hat. And here is the hat. See if I can open up this lace so you can see it a little bit. There you can kind of see the pattern. And the pattern I used for this is a free pattern on Ravelry. It is called the Light and Lacy Spring Hat. It's by Rachel Goff. There it is right there. And there you can see the pattern a little bit better. Now it is just a beanie, and here's what the top of it looks like, where the decrease is going right here. And I'll show that to you on mine. This is such busy yarn that it doesn't show up as well. I do have enough yarn left over for a pom-pom, but I don't want to waste the yarn if my granddaughter doesn't want that. So this is the yarn I have left over. Like I said, it was from a Knit Crate box. It was sock weight yarn, and this was called Vintage Barbie. And this is plenty to make a pom-pom if she would like it up top here. I don't see that happening. I just don't picture her wearing a pom-pom. And like I said, this is a beanie hat. I would put it on, but I've got my hair up and it's, well, I don't think it's going to fit. We'll try to put it over. There, it did fit. So there you can see it on me. So as you can see, it's a beanie hat. It's not one that's going to come way down. So I don't know that she's really going to want a pom-pom on the top. But it's up to her. If she does, I will make her one. The other thing that I made this week was kind of unintentional. I had not even started it last week on the podcast. I actually didn't even buy the yarn for it until Tuesday night when I was at Knit Night. My coworkers and I exchanged names, and we were kind of doing a Secret Santa where you left some type of like literary quote about Christmas to your secret person that you got, secret name. And then I kind of thought, well, when we do the secret reveal, I want to be able to like give her something. So I thought I need to get something I can knit really, really quick. So this is what I ended up with. I bought this yarn. I have two colors of it. I have brown, and then I have this, which is well, you can see it here. It's kind of it's mostly gray and white, but there are actually little pops of brown in it. It's not showing up real well, but there are pops of brown in it, and the pops of brown match the solid brown. Here you can see some of, no, it's not showing up real well, but there's some brown right here. It's just not, it's not showing up real well. It's just faint. So I thought, well, what can I make really quick that's still going to look nice? So I made a cowl. Here it is. And I put 3 buttons. The buttons are just for looks. They're not real. I mean, they're real buttons, but they're not operational buttons. And all I did was the garter stitch. It's 15 stitches wide. I started this making it 21 inches, and it was way too bulky. So this is very heavy and thick, and you can see the solid brown, and then I've got this kind of gray with the brown mixed in. So I'll stick this on real quick so you can kind of see what it looks like. So here it is. It's, it kind of comes up high here, but you could fold it. You could actually fold it completely over if you wanted to, and tuck it in. So you could do that with it if you wanted, or if you want it up around your ears, you can do that too. So it is warm. It's very soft. And it's funny, when I'm looking at this yarn, if you're about my age, and I'm in my mid-50s, I remember having my hair up in ponytails or pigtails, and we had yarn in different colors like this. And this is almost like a pencil roving with a twist around it of string to hold it in place. See if I can get that to show up. A little bit. It's actually 2-ply. You can see the 2 plies here. And then it's loosely plied, and there's like a white thread that kind of wraps around it just to hold it from totally untwisting. But we had long things like this in all these different colors, and you tied those around the ponytails and they hung down somewhere around. I've got pictures of me wearing pigtails with it. Yeah. We're glad that style went out of style. Oh, and the size needles that I knit these with, these are size US 9s, and these are Chaogu needles. I think that's what they are. No. Yes, these are US 9s, and they are Addy. I don't believe they're Addy Turbos. I think they're just Addies. Because the Turbos, I think, have sharper points. I did find these a little on the awkward size, just because I am not used to using chunky knits, which could make the knit crate this month interesting because it's supposed to be a chunky knit, or a chunky yarn. So, yeah, these, like I said, are US 9s, and that's what I knit with, and it did make a very dense fabric. So this week has been full of total crazy things. Been running around like crazy trying to get the Christmas presents wrapped, and that's not my favorite activity, so I thought, well, I will just put my earbud in and I will watch YouTube while I am wrapping presents. So I had one end in and I had the other earbud dangling. You know where this story's going. Yes, there's a big problem when you are, letting things dangle from your ear. I cut right through it on the process of wrapping the presents. But the story gets better from that because I had it in my ear and I was still watching YouTube and I decided to fold clothes. So I have this in, this little loose piece is dangling and I'm pulling out stuff that had static in it. Apparently it reacted with this somehow and I was getting little shocks in my ear on this side of the earbud. I have no idea how, but somehow or other I completed an electrical circuit, I guess. It was like homemade electric shock therapy. It was not a good experience. Yeah, I need to get a new one of these. But yeah, homemade electric shock therapy. And it made me think back when I used to actually work down in the main part of the branch at the library. I was putting books away one day and there's this lady and I hear this giggling coming from the aisle, like around the corner. So I stick my head around and this lady says, "I'm sorry, but this is just too funny." And she holds up this book that says, "How to Make Your Own Coffin." And she and I looked at each other and I said, "Well, I guess you have to plan in advance for that one." So, yeah. Anyway, I was doing that and I was also knitting because I needed to get this done really quick. I actually started it Tuesday. I finished it Thursday night. But because I needed to get it knit, I took it with me to work to knit in between customers on our transit van, which goes to like senior communities. Now, our transit van does not have heat on it. So the only heat that comes into the truck is what's up front in the cab. But we're sitting in the back where all the books are and the whole side of the truck is open so people can get in and out. So I've discovered I can knit wearing a pair of mittens. So talk about extreme knitting. So I'm going to stick that picture in. It was slightly cold. I think it was about 40 degrees outside, and I think we were in the mid-40s inside the truck. So, yeah, I could not take off I never took my mittens or my heavy coat off all day long. So my coworker and I have learned that we need to really bundle up when it's getting cold outside. So I also got my house decorated for Christmas. So I actually decorated it last week, but I had several people ask me about the nativity scene that is in the introduction, and that is from my grandmother. She made it for me back in the 1990s, I believe. My grandmother lived to be 92, and she passed away in 2001, but she made this when she was living at a senior community, and so it's special to me. But I also have some other things another thing that my other grandmother on the other side of the family made in ceramics as well. So I'm going to insert my home decoration little segment right there, right here. And there's some puppy footage and there's some Christmas cookies yeah, they're very expensive Christmas cookies. You'll see in the video. So I'm going to put that in here. This is our Christmas tree, and if you look really, really close, you will see that it is black. Yes, black. I'll explain that in a minute. And there's Cricket. There's the puppy. There is the infamous clock that I always hear in every tutorial that I do. And setters that were given to us at the mission organization that we volunteer at. And some flowers that Dave gave me that are really starting to look wilty, but I don't want to throw them out yet. And down here is here's the little boy, got a little baseball hat. There's the little girl, she has a little hat with a bow. They didn't turn out as cute as the mommy snowman. There's the mommy snowman. And she has a little hat on. I have a garland over the living room window, but I don't have it turned on. It does light up, but we have to get extension cords. And this is a wreath that I bought at a flea market or yard sale probably 20 years ago or more. I think I paid $2 or $3 for it. We used to hang it outside, but some of our local birds decided that the top of the nest, or the top of the wreath right up here would be an ideal spot to build a nest, and I couldn't take it down till spring because they had babies in it. And we couldn't open our front door because we were afraid they'd fly into the house. So everybody that came to our house had to come through the garage for a few weeks until they stopped nesting and flew away. This is my little tree that sits on top of a table. See if I can hold one up so you can see them. There you go. He's sitting on top of a graham cracker and a Hershey bar. Let's see if I can hold one up here a little bit better. See, he's sitting on a, there you go. He's sitting on a base of a graham cracker and a Hershey bar. And that's what he looks like. I got that out of a magazine. Again, probably 20 years ago. Then on our front door we have a tumble of snowmen hooked to a snowflake. Now, this is a ceramic tree that my grandmother on my father's side of the family made. She did a lot of ceramics. And I'm going to turn the little lights off so you can see it a little bit better. Apparently these were very popular because every time I go to an auction I see them. Oh, there it is. And the wreath up here was made by my sister-in-law. And then down here, these are jingle bells. You can see they've got these big jingle bells on them. And then over here is the nativity scene that you see in the opening. And that was actually made for me by my mother's mother. So my grandmother on my mother's side. She was in her late 80s when she made this. And it doesn't show up real well in the lighting. It looks like they're just white, but they actually have kind of a grayish blue, like a wash on them. So, yep, she made that for me. And it is sitting on top of a cabinet because we have toddlers. that will be here at Christmas. So it's sitting up on top of this. This is where I keep a lot of my projects I'm working on at the time. So it's sitting on top of there just to keep it safe. And in the kitchen on my chandelier, I have a whole bunch of little gingerbread men that are bakers and stuff. Like this one's got a rolling pin, and this one has a cookbook, and this one's, there you can see, he's holding a whisk. And then the two in the back over here have chef's hats on. And then I have a bunch of gingerbread men hanging off of a fur here in my kitchen on my cabinet. Dave and I bought these as a school fundraiser. A little kid showed up at our door. They are Mrs. Fields. Yeah, they were $18.99, and here we go. We've got a whole 32 cookies in here that are ready to bake. I figured it out, because you know me and the calculator. It comes out to 59 cents per cookie. For 59 cents a cookie, these things should have no calories in them and bake themselves good. They look good. There we go. They should look good for 59 cents a piece. They're not real big, as you can see. They're maybe 2 inches across. I guess they're going to spread out when they bake. Now, to explain a little bit about my black Christmas tree. If you have been watching me for a year, you probably heard this story before, so just fast forward for a minute or two. But for those of you who are new and have never heard the black Christmas tree story, I like a bargain. Cheap is plastered on my forehead. My son actually said that a clearance sign attracts me like a bug to a light. And everybody was laughing at the Christmas tree that I had at the time. It was kind of more like a shrub with lights on it. And everybody said, well, it doesn't look like a Christmas tree because it's not, cone shaped. So right after Christmas, I ran and braved the masses at Walmart. And I was looking for the size of the tree. I wanted something narrow because I didn't have the space for a real big bushy tree. Wanted a narrow tree that was about 6 feet tall. So I found the right dimensions, grabbed the tree, got it for 50% off, came home, threw it down in the basement, never thought about it again till the next year when I opened up the box and went, oh, it's a black tree. It's technically a Florida black pine, and if you look really, really close with a really, really bright light, you can see that it is a really, really, really dark green. But for the most part, it looks black. But there's so many lights on this little tree. I mean, it came pre-lit. I think there's over 200 lights. There's so much lights, it kind of blinds you to the fact that it's black. So everybody now is laughing. If it wasn't bad enough, they were laughing about my shrubby looking tree. Now they tease me about my black tree because it looks like we're in mourning. Yeah. So anyway, that's the tale of the black Christmas tree. Now let me get on to my other things that I am working on and show you where I am at with those. First off, we have the Plaidaptation, which is a Craftsy kit. Here is, I've already made the first half. This is the second half. It's going to be a poncho, and it's going to form a plaid pattern when I finish. And I have done a tutorial on it. It will be showing up probably about the time I finish this, that will show you how to create the plaid. But here's where I was last week. You can see my stitch marker right here. And I've gone up to here. And it's about 90 stitches across at this point. Now these little channels you can see that are created here, that's where the duplicate stitch is going to come up through here, and it creates a plaid effect. And you could do this with any garment, but you can also design like initials, and you could put like flowers, any kind of design, like a football team insignia or emblem or something like that. You could do any of those things, and it's using the duplicate stitch. So that video is coming up to show how to do that. My crochet project, which is living in my Katrina's Creations bag. I am making a virus shawl for a lady at our church who is dealing with cancer right now. And for those of you who have offered to keep her in your prayers, I do appreciate that. She is doing really well at this point, and she's going to start chemotherapy in January. So I'm hoping to have this done for her by then. But you can see my little stitch marker from last week. I was right here. It's all bundled up. You can see I'm right there, and so I have done like another section, like one more section of the loops in here, and I'll hold the whole thing out. I'm using a 5.5 millimeter hook with this. And there it is. And what looks like it's blue is not. It's actually a dark, kind of smoky charcoal. It's a little bit, it's almost a purpley color. It's almost a purpley charcoal, and then it goes to a regular charcoal. So it's not blue like what looks like there. And this is a gray also. So there is the virus shawl. And if she was just going to wear it around her neck, in all honesty, I tried this around my shoulders. It almost works like it is now, but I have the yarn, so I am going to make it bigger for her. And the yarn I am using is a Lion Brand Mandala. And this is my second skein of it. I've gone all the way through, and Mandala, a skein like this is 590 yards or 540 meters. It's 100% acrylic, so she can just throw it in the washing machine. And let me see if there is a colorway listed for this. Centaur, that's what it is. It's just called Centaur. It's pretty much autumn colors. So that is what I am working on with crochet. And then I started on yet another project. I think I mentioned this one last week. I showed you, in fact I know I did, I showed you 2 different tones of silver yarn that I was going to make a shawl. I bought this yarn last year at my local yarn shop, and it is called Jewel. It is by Fisa Yarns, and I am making the Yexa shawl. Here is what it looks like. And I know there's a better picture in here too. The Yexa shawl is designed by Janine McCarty. She is also the designer of the Cooper Spur pullover that I made as a test knit for her. And this is what this shawl looks like. It's a real fast knit because you do it with like a worsted weight yarn. And I'm using a size 8 needle, so it really is going quickly. And you start at the top and you work your way down, and I'm actually right about here on the pattern. So I have these sections here to go, but I am right about there. And I'll show you what it looks like. And this is in a bag that I forgot I had. My mother made this for me. She didn't make the bag itself, but my mom has a Bernina sewing machine. She used to teach classes. Bernina sewing machines can do embroidery work and quilting and all kinds of other fancy things. They pretty much sew for you. But she did this one. It says Praise the Lord, and it has some flowers underneath it. She made it so I could carry like my Bible and choir books and stuff like that, but I actually use it for my knitting instead. So here are the two colors of yarn that I'm using. They look like they're you can see they're two different colors. This one is definitely darker than that one. And they're very sparkly. And I wanted it done for last year for Christmas, and I never got around to it. And I'm hoping I finish it for this year for Christmas. So I've been frantically working on this. I have another meeting on Monday, so this will be going along. And my coworkers are having a get-together afterwards, so this will be going along to that too. So here's what it looks like so far. The top part's eyelet, and then it has this really neat kind of bubbly texture. And you can see it's very sparkly and shiny. So I thought it was very Christmassy. It's not something I'm going to wear the rest of the year. I mean, I like sparkles, but this is definitely a little too festive for like casual events. So, but it'd be perfect for Christmas. So that is my goal, is to get this done for that. So that is my other project that I'm working on. Now, I wanted to answer a few questions because last week I was wearing a shawl around my neck, sort of like in a kerchief type of style, like a bib. And I had several people ask what the name of it was. And Diane asked me a couple questions because it turns out she's making this shawl. So I thought I would address those really quick. I was wearing the bendy arrow, and here is what it looks like. You start at this side here. I'm going to get this close so you can kind of see it. You start at this side here, and then it works across. And when you get to this section right here, you can see it kind of makes a twist right there at the bottom. Let's see if I can hold this up well. Right here. It forms this little bump here. And then you use short rows all along in here that help form this twist right here where it gets the name bendy from, because then it goes up at this angle. I need to re-block this a little bit. I did do a tutorial if you are making this, and it's funny, I was talking with Diane yesterday or today about this particular pattern. I think it was yesterday. And I was watching, right before I came up here to film, I was watching Cozy Up with the Stitching Sisters. When they originally were making, this bendy arrow about between 2 and 3 years ago. About the same time I was making this, because all of us entered into a giveaway at the same time for this shawl. Anyway, one of them started making this again, and I was like, how funny that now it's coming back around, and Diane and I just talked about it the other day. So if you happen to be making this pattern, and this is a pattern by Charlotte Bory, it is a lot of fun to make. It was one of my favorite shawls, and one of the things I really like about it, I don't know if it'll show up in this picture, but it has what's called I-cord edging. This edge here actually has a rolled, almost like a rib to it. It just makes a very nice finished edge. It's really pronounced on this side. Maybe with the pink you can see it. I'm looking in the monitor to see how well it shows up. But yeah, it has this really nice rolled edge to it. It's called an I-cord bind off. And it's just a nice fast knit. You use fingering weight. I don't remember offhand what size needle I used for it. But if you are making this, I will give you a couple tips. You start at this end, like I said, and as you can see, this side here is narrow and this side is wider. It has a definite center point here. But because it's all garter stitch, when you first get started, you cannot tell the front from the back. And it's imperative for the rest of the pattern that you keep track of what the front is from the back. So if you make this pattern, put a progress keeper or a safety pin on the right side of the pattern so that you can keep track, because like I said, it does definitely matter because of the way the increases go. And if you get them mixed up, this center line is not going to be straight. It's going to be doing this. So just a little heads up if you make the pattern, but it was a lot of fun. I will probably make another one of these because it's just really squishy. It was fun. I knit this really, really fast. So anyway, just thought I would do a little update on that since there were several questions about that last week. Now we do have, I already announced earlier in the video, but I'll say it just again. We do have a Knit Crate unboxing on Monday, and we also have a tutorial on Wednesday on the magic loop method. Last week we did the DPNs, or double pointed needles, and so I thought it would be a good one to follow up with because you can do the same technique as the double pointed needles using the magic loop method. So to make that, they just seem to tie together well, so that tutorial will be up on Wednesday. Now in our, we have Annie's, a lot of these sales are at the end of the year sales, so we have Annie's Craft Store is offering up to 50% off of all of their clearance items. So that is a really good deal. I am in the process of chatting back and forth with Annie's about doing a giveaway, so hopefully I will have more information about that for next week. Craftsy is running a sale on all of their kits right now, so check those out. The Pladaptation was a kit from Craftsy, so check those. Hobium is Hobium. They always have great sales. Everything they offer is roughly about 40% off what you would normally pay for the same quality or quantity of yarn. You can get some really good deals over there. Lion Brand, which is where my mandala yarn came from, they are offering 30% off of their yarn and kits until December 21st of this year, 2018. So check that out. And they have a gradient yarn called Next Best Thing, not next, neck. So it's Next Best Thing gradient yarn, and it is a big cake like the mandala yarn, and it is $6.99. So that one is an interesting deal to check out. And Knit Picks is having their month, they always pick one brand of yarn to put on sale for the month. And this month it is the Wool of the Andes, which is their brand of 100% Peruvian Highland wool. And it is the worsted, just for an example, their worsted weight yarn is running $2.79. And like I said, it's 100% wool. So that one is a good deal. If you're interested in any of those, you can click the links directly below. You'll see the description box. If you scroll down toward the bottom of that description box, you'll see links to all of these companies, and you can just click straight through there. Now, and I do want to be transparent with you guys. If you do click through those links, I do get a small commission out of any of the sales, which just helps to kind of support the channel a little bit. So, yeah, if you order, please think about ordering through me. Anyway, the links are down below if you are interested. Knit Crate is also down there, and if you are interested in Knit Crate, you can get 20% off of your very first subscription box by checking in the coupon code. You just need to put in KCreations20 in order to get that 20%. And I am offering right now all of the patterns that I've designed are going to be 20% off as well. The only thing you will need is a coupon code of KC20, and that will give you 20% off of any of the patterns over in my Ravelry pattern page. So, and the link to that is also down below. So that is it for this week. Next week we are going to have lots of music. I kept thinking that I could not put music on YouTube because of copyright issues, but I looked into it a little bit further and I found out that as long as the music is in public domain, meaning the copyrights has expired, because of the age of the song. So, yeah, there just might be some music next week. My husband and I are going Christmas caroling with our church on Wednesday, and Dave and I are working on, some people have asked if we sing or play. We do play the guitars. Some people have asked if they would ever be able to hear us sing and play music. So we're hoping to get that put together for you as well next week. So make sure you tune in next week, and yeah, it should be fun. So I hope you have a great week ahead of you, and I will see you on Monday, Wednesday, and again next Saturday. Thanks again for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. Talk to you later. Bye, everybody.